Her heart stopped. Under guest list was his name. It had been 3 years since Emma last saw Liam, and now his name was printed in soft gold ink right below hers. Same line, same table. The wedding planner must have thought it was fate. Emma thought it was a cosmic prank. The wedding wasn't hers, of course. It was her best friend Rachel's. The kind of event where every flower looked like it had a trust fund. Emma was the maid of honor, and she'd spent weeks crafting the perfect speech, avoiding any talk of heartbreak or second chances. And now? Fate had RSVP'd under Liam's name. She stared at the card, coffee going cold. He shouldn't be there. They'd ended badly, not with yelling, but silence. The kind that hums under your ribs long after. He'd left without a goodbye, and she'd built an entire new life on pretending she was fine. But apparently, the seating chart didn't get the memo. By the time the wedding weekend rolled around, the venue looked like a Pinterest board exploded. Fairy lights, wildflowers, a lake reflecting everything soft and golden. Rachel was glowing, running on caffeine and love. "Table 7, right?" Emma asked, pretending not to care. Rachel grinned. "Oh yeah, that's the old crew. Liam, you, a few college friends. Are you okay with that?" Emma smiled too brightly. Totally. Inside, she was bargaining with the universe. Maybe he won't show. Maybe he got sick. Maybe he's matured into a monk in the Himalayas. Then she saw him. Same posture. Relaxed, observant, like the world never rushed him. But his hair was shorter, and his smile, softer. He caught her glance and gave a small nod. Recognition, no drama. Just two ghosts quietly realizing they still existed. Dinner was awkward in the way only nostalgia can be. The table buzzed with chatter, but Emma felt like she was sitting inside a snow globe, every sound muffled. "So, are you still writing?" Liam asked, voice low. She blinked. "You remember that?" Hard to forget someone who could make grocery lists sound poetic. Her laugh came out before she could stop it. "I quit. Freelance copywriting now." "You? Moved back last year?" "Opened a small design studio." He said it casually, like he hadn't designed the logo for her first failed blog. Like they weren't quietly walking through the ruins of what they used to be. Every word carried a memory. The smell of rain in their first apartment. The fight about nothing that ended everything. The apology that never came. Halfway through the toasts, Rachel's dad started crying, which made everyone else cry. Even Liam. Emma caught him wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. A small, human motion that broke something in her chest. When the music started, he stood, hesitant. "Want to dance?" She froze. "That's probably not a good idea," he nodded. "Yeah, probably not." They sat instead, watching couples sway under the lights. For a moment, the silence between them wasn't heavy, just familiar. Then he said quietly, "I never told you why I left." Her pulse skipped. "You didn't need to." "I did," he said. "You thought I stopped loving you, but I didn't. I got scared. My dad had a stroke, and I didn't know how to do everything at once. So I disappeared." "I'm sorry," the room blurred. "Not from tears, from realization. Too late for forgiveness?" he asked softly. Emma shook her head. "No, just too late for what we were." That line could have been a goodbye, but it wasn't bitter. It was something gentler. Acceptance, maybe. The kind that comes when both people finally heal at different speeds. As the night wound down, he offered his hand. "One dance. For old times?" She hesitated, then nodded. They didn't talk. Just moved quietly, surrounded by laughter and string lights. Her cheek brushed his shoulder once. A brief touch that felt like closing a book. Later she stood by the lake, barefoot in the grass, shoes dangling. Liam walked up beside her, keeping just enough distance. "I don't think we'll ever be what we were," she said. He smiled faintly. "Maybe not, but maybe that's okay." She looked out at the reflection of lights trembling on the water. "Yeah, maybe that's okay." He left before midnight, after saying goodbye to everyone but her. No note, no dramatic exit. Just gone. Again, but peacefully this time. Weeks later, Emma got a letter. A simple white envelope. Inside was a short note. "You once said closure isn't something someone gives you. It's something you decide to keep. I finally got it. Thank you. L." She smiled, folded it once, and placed it in her journal. Not as a wound, but as proof that sometimes people really do come back just to say sorry the right way. Sometimes closure isn't the final word. It's the first breath of peace after years of holding your heart hostage. Sometimes, walking away, twice, is the kindest thing you can do for both of you. So if you're replaying an old conversation tonight, wondering if you could have fixed it, maybe it was never broken. Maybe it just ended where it was supposed to. Next up, a groom deletes every photo from his wedding, and Reddit can't decide if he's justified or heartless. If you're still mining or studying, you're officially part of the cozy crew. Story number 2. He deleted every wedding photo, then said, "You should have thanked me." He deleted every wedding photo, thousands of them, and when his wife confronted him, he just said, "You should have thanked me." The entire internet lit up debating who was right, who was cruel, and who was just tired of being overlooked. Mark wasn't a dramatic man. He was a quiet photographer, the kind who measured love in light and timing. At least that's what his wife, Julia, used to say when they were dating. She'd always brag about his eye for emotion, but by the time they got married, that eye had stopped looking at her. Their wedding was huge. Julia came from a loud, loving family, and she'd been planning it since she was 10. Every ribbon, every flower, every chair had a story. Mark didn't mind. He just wanted her to be happy. He filmed, edited, and stored every single photo himself. The plan was simple. Upload everything after the honeymoon, share it with the family, and move on with their lives. Except, something shifted. 2 months after the wedding, Julia was still living in the afterglow. Endless brunches, group chats, posts, hashtags. But Mark was quiet, withdrawn. He'd stopped picking up his camera, stopped joining the conversations. One night, she walked in and saw him at his computer. Dozens of files open. Wedding folders, edited photos, all of it. "What are you doing?" she asked. He didn't look up. "Backing things up." Hours later, he deleted everything. Every photo, every video, every backup. It was all gone. Julia thought it was a mistake. "Tell me you didn't just delete our wedding." He turned the monitor off. "I did." "Why?" she whispered. Mark leaned back, eyes tired. "Because that day wasn't ours." Her heart sank. "What are you talking about? You planned every moment for everyone else. The guests, the pictures, the hashtags. I was just there, as the camera guy. The only time you looked at me that day was for photos." "That's not true." "Julia, you turned to your bridesmaid for your vows cue card. You forgot to include my mom in the family shots. You even corrected how I was standing, for the aesthetic." Silence stretched thin. She tried to laugh it off. "So you deleted them because of that? Because I wanted things to be perfect?" He didn't raise his voice. He just said, "I didn't delete our wedding. I deleted the performance." Julia left the room. Furious. Hurt. She told her friends, her parents, Reddit. The internet responded with torches and popcorn. Half said he was cruel. The other half said he'd done something profound. Days passed without them speaking. Then Mark sent her a link. It was a single photo. The only one he hadn't deleted. It wasn't from the ceremony. Not the kiss, not the walk down the aisle. It was taken an hour before guests arrived. Julia was sitting in front of the mirror, robe half off her shoulder, hair half done, face calm and real. No posing, no filters. Just her, humming softly to herself. Underneath, he'd written one line. "This is the moment I married you." She stared at it for minutes, then hours. That photo had never been meant for posting. It wasn't cinematic. It was intimate, vulnerable. The kind of thing that makes you realize how many memories we ruin by trying to make them perfect. That night, Julia came home and found him sitting on the porch. "I saw the photo," she said quietly. He nodded. "You looked like you that morning. Not the person trying to impress 100 people." She sat beside him. "I didn't mean to make it feel like a show. I thought I was making something we'd both be proud of." "I know," he said. "But somewhere between the centerpiece budget and the drone shots, I stopped seeing us." She didn't have a defense. Only the truth. "So what now?" He exhaled. "We start making memories that don't need proof." A year later, their anniversary looked nothing like the wedding. No guests, no cameras, just a picnic blanket on a hill, a disposable film camera, and a quiet kind of laughter that didn't need curating. Julia still misses those photos sometimes. But she learned something harder than forgiveness: humility. When people asked why they didn't have wedding pictures, she just smiled and said, because the best parts weren't meant to be shared. Sometimes, deleting something isn't about erasing the past. It's about freeing it from the performance. Not every moment needs to be immortalized to matter. And maybe that's what Mark meant when he said, "You should have thanked me." He wasn't destroying her memories. He was saving her from living inside them. Next up, a woman wakes to find a note on her pillow, written by her boyfriend, but dated 3 years in the future. "If you're still mining or studying, drop AI if you're grinding or AI if you're drifting. You're officially part of the cozy crew." She woke up to a note on her pillow. Her boyfriend's handwriting, his familiar slanted R's, his looping Y's, but dated 3 years in the future. And at the bottom, written in shaky pen, was one line. When you read this, please don't look for me. It was 6:42 a.m. The kind of quiet morning when the world hasn't fully started. Rain tapping the window, coffee scent from the timer he always set. Except, he wasn't there. Ella sat up slowly, the sheet still warm on his side. The note lay on his pillow, folded once, no envelope. His handwriting, his words, but dated July 12th, 3 years ahead. She thought it was a joke. He was a playful guy, the kind who left sticky notes on the fridge that said, "You're the best plot twist of my day." So she smiled, confused but charmed, and texted him, "Found your time travel prank. 8:10 execution, 0:10 for leaving before breakfast." No reply. By noon she'd called twice, then 5 times. Then she drove to his studio. His camera bag was gone, but everything else was untouched. Laptop open, music still looping, and that's when she saw the folder on his desktop. "If you're reading this," her heart stuttered. Inside were photos. Not of her. Not of them. Landscapes, rivers, bridges, each file named by date, all exactly 3 years in the future, and one video. She clicked play. His face filled the screen, tired, scruffy, eyes red like he'd been crying for days. "Hey, Elle. If you're seeing this, it means I finally left." He exhaled shakily. "I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I wasn't supposed to stay," she whispered. "What are you talking about?" Like he could hear her through the screen. He looked down, then back up. 3 years from now, you'll be standing by a bridge in Prague. You'll think you're alone. You won't be. Someone will find you, and you'll save her life. I can't explain how I know. Just promise me you won't stop writing after that day." The video ended with static. She sat frozen. Her boyfriend wasn't a cryptic man. He loved routines, predictability, grocery lists. This wasn't him. Unless it was something he believed. The next day, police reports, calls, messages, nothing. No trace. He'd vanished. For a while she thought it was a breakdown. Then maybe an elaborate disappearance. Then she just tried to live. She quit her office job, started writing again, like he'd told her to. Short stories, essays, little windows of grief disguised as fiction. Every one of them started with the same sentence. "He left me on a Tuesday and the note was dated 3 years ahead." Her stories went viral. Readers said her work felt haunted but hopeful. She didn't disagree. 3 years passed. Slowly. Quietly. Like fog retreating from the sea. And one July morning, she found herself in Prague. Part of a writer's residency she'd never applied for, but somehow got invited to. The bridge in front of her looked exactly like the one in his photos. Her heart thudded. She stood there for almost an hour, trying to convince herself it was a coincidence. Then she saw her. A young woman, maybe 20, crying at the railing, 1 foot already on the lower bar. Without thinking, Ella moved. Hey, wait!" The woman turned, startled. "Please don't," Ella's voice shook. "You don't have to do this." They talked for 5 minutes, maybe 10. Enough time for the storm inside that girl's chest to quiet just a little. Eventually, she climbed back down. Paramedics arrived. So did tears. Ella's this time. Back in her hotel, she opened her laptop and searched the local news. The girl was fine. Her name was Mia. The article said a tourist writer had helped her. She scrolled further, and there it was. A byline on an old piece. Her boyfriend's name. The date? That very day, 3 years ago. He'd written about a woman in a gray coat saving another from the bridge. The description was word for word her outfit. It was impossible. Unless he'd known, somehow. She cried until dawn. Then she did the only thing that felt right. She opened a blank document and wrote a story titled, "The Man Who Knew When to Leave." Sometimes love isn't about staying. Sometimes it's about setting a chain in motion. One act that echoes forward in time, saving someone you'll never meet. Maybe he wasn't a time traveler. Maybe he was just a man who believed in her enough to disappear when it mattered most. Because loving someone isn't always about being in their life forever. Sometimes it's about making sure they live long enough to become who they're meant to be. If you're still mining or studying right now, take a breath. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Next up, a bridesmaid discovers the groom's secret text messages from the bride's mom. Story for 4. The bridesmaid found the groom's texts from the bride's mom. The bridesmaid found the groom's texts, not from some random stranger, but from the bride's mother. And in one of them, it said, "You know she's not ready for you. Not like I am." Jenna had been in enough weddings to know chaos was part of the package. But this one felt different. It was her best friend Lily's big day. Backyard garden, soft music, twinkle lights. The kind of wedding Pinterest boards dream about. Lily had always been the sunshine type. Nervous giggles, endless optimism, and a smile that made people soften around her. She'd met Eric, the groom, 3 years ago at a friend's barbecue. He was calm, grounded, a little quiet. Exactly the kind of guy you hope your best friend ends up with. So when Jenna caught him outside during rehearsal dinner, laughing a little too softly into his phone, she didn't think much of it, until she heard him say, "Not now. She's right here." That night Jenna couldn't sleep. Something in his tone felt wrong. The next morning, she went to deliver Lily's breakfast, eggs, fruit, and her phone from the kitchen counter. But when she unlocked it to check a message from the florist, something popped up on the screen. Eric, 2:13 a.m. "I can't talk tonight. She's in the next room." Below it, another one. Same chat, different name, Marlene. The contact photo froze her blood. It was Lily's mom. At first, Jenna thought it was a mistake, maybe a missaved number. But curiosity became panic. She opened the thread. Dozens of messages. "You said you'd tell her after the wedding. I need you to stop calling me. You didn't say that when you were here last week." Each word sank like a stone. Her stomach flipped. "No way," she whispered. "No way." But then came the photo, a blurry picture. Eric's jacket on a hotel chair, a champagne glass, a hand with the same silver bracelet Marlene had worn last night. Jenna felt sick. She closed the phone, paced, then stared at Lily's dress hanging by the window. Perfect, white, innocent. She wanted to protect her. But how do you destroy someone's wedding to save them from heartbreak? Her hands shook as she called her older sister, who'd been through her own divorce. "What would you do?" Jenna asked. Her sister didn't even hesitate. "You tell her, before she says, 'I do.' You'd rather she hate you for a year than hate herself forever." So Jenna did it. She waited until Lily was halfway through her hair appointment, the morning light soft through the window. "Lil," she said quietly, "I need to show you something. Please don't freak out." At first, Lily laughed. Then she saw the texts, and the laughter died. Her hands went pale around the phone. She scrolled, eyes widening, shaking her head. No, this can't be real." "I'm so sorry," Jenna whispered. Lily stood up, pacing in silence. My mom? The makeup artist awkwardly backed away. Nobody said a word. An hour later, chaos erupted. Marlene was dragged into the bridal suite, still in her floral robe, confused until she saw her daughter's face. "What's going on?" Lily held up the phone. "You tell me." Marlene froze. "Sweetheart, this isn't—" "Stop lying." Lily's voice cracked. "How long?" Marlene's eyes filled. "It wasn't supposed to happen. We were drinking, How long?" 6 months. Lily dropped the phone. Everyone heard it hit the floor like a gunshot. Eric arrived moments later, pale and sweating. "Lily, please." She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just looked at him and said, "You know what's funny? I spent a year worrying if you'd like my vows. Turns out I never knew who I was writing them for." Then she handed him the ring box. "You can give this to her." She walked out barefoot, veil still in hand. Later that evening, after guests were told the wedding was postponed indefinitely, Jenna found Lily sitting by the lake behind the venue. Feet in the water, mascara gone. "She's still my mom," Lily said quietly. "I don't even know how to process that." Jenna sat beside her. "You don't have to tonight. Just breathe. Let it be ugly for a while." Lily nodded. "You know what's weird? I'm not even angry. I'm just done. Like the part of me that believed in certain people finally clocked out." Jenna didn't try to fix it. She just stayed there, watching the water ripple, waiting for Lily to exhale again. 3 weeks later, Lily posted a photo online. Her in jeans, standing beside a half-built cabin foundation. Caption, "New start, new soil. No reception out here, and that's the point. Sometimes peace isn't found in forgiveness. It's found in the quiet after the explosion, when you realize you survived it. And sometimes, the people who break your heart are the ones who were supposed to protect it. And that's not your fault. If you're still mining or studying, remember, some truths are earthquakes disguised as kindness." Next up, a man finds a wedding ring buried in his backyard, engraved with his wife's initials and someone else's date. He found the wedding ring in his backyard, gold, thin, glinting under the afternoon sun. At first he thought it was trash, until he saw the engraving inside, his wife's initials. But the date wasn't their wedding day. Derek had lived in that house for 7 years. Same quiet cul-de-sac, same maple tree, same patch of stubborn weeds that refused to die. It was the kind of place where life blurred into routine. Work, home, dinner, sleep. His wife, Claire, had moved in a year after they married. She was warm, steady, the kind of woman who remembered everyone's birthday but forgot her own phone. They'd been solid, until recently she'd grown quiet, distant in the way people do when they're carrying something invisible. That Saturday, Derek decided to fix the garden bed she'd been asking about. The soil was rough, roots everywhere. He pushed the shovel deep, heard the clink of metal, and thought it was just an old nail. But when he pulled it out, dirt crumbled away to reveal a gold band. He frowned. It wasn't rusty, just old. He rubbed it clean, and that's when he saw it. His heart stopped. That was her handwriting style. Even the little heart. But they'd married in 2018. He walked inside, holding it like evidence. Claire was reading by the window, coffee in hand. "Hey," he said, keeping his tone light. "Did you ever lose a ring?" She looked up startled. "Why?" He showed it to her. The color drained from her face. "Where did you get that?" "Backyard." "Why does it have our initials? And why this date?" She stared at it for a long time before whispering, "I didn't lose it. I buried it." Derek's pulse quickened. "You buried it?" She nodded slowly, tears gathering. "Before we got married. When I thought I'd never see you again." He blinked. "What are you talking about?" Claire set the mug down. "You remember when we broke up that year? You said you didn't want to do long distance. I tried to move on. I got engaged. The world tilted." "You what?" "It didn't last. He was older, kind. But I knew the night he proposed that I was lying to both of us. So I buried the ring behind my mom's house, like a promise to let go of everything fake." She looked out the window. "When we bought this place, I didn't realize it was the same property line. The land used to belong to my mom's old neighbor." Derek stood frozen. The coincidence hit him like a slow wave. The same soil, the same ring. Her secret is buried beneath their new life. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked quietly. "Because I wanted a clean start," she said. "And I was ashamed. You were the real thing, the one I left, not the one I almost married." He turned the ring in his hand. "So this isn't mine," she shook her head. "No, but it's the reason I said yes to you. Because I'd already learned what saying yes to the wrong person felt like." He didn't know what to say. Anger warred with understanding. "So you kept a secret engagement for years?" "It wasn't a secret," she said softly. "It was a mistake I buried so I could build something real with you." He sighed. "And now it's dug up again." She gave a sad smile. "Maybe it was time. Things buried too long start to grow roots." That night, Derek couldn't sleep. He held the ring under the lamp, watching how it caught the light. The date, 2015, felt like another life. In the morning, he went outside with 2 rings, hers, and the one he'd found. He dug a shallow hole and placed the old one inside, covering it gently. Then he pressed his own wedding ring against the dirt. "History stays," he whispered. "But we move forward." When Claire came outside, she saw him standing there, hands dirty, eyes calm. "What did you do with it?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Gave it a better resting place." Later that day, they walked to the maple tree together, marking the spot with a small stone. No ceremony, no apology, just quiet closure. It didn't fix everything between them overnight, but something subtle changed. The way they looked at each other, softer, less afraid of the past. Sometimes, love isn't about pretending history didn't happen. It's about choosing to bury it properly, with honesty this time. 3 months later, Claire placed a small note by the stone. Derek found it the next morning. "For every version of us that didn't make it, thank you for helping this one grow." He smiled, brushed the dirt from his hands, and thought, maybe some ghosts are just old promises that needed a witness. If you're still mining or studying, take that as your reminder. Not every buried thing is meant to stay hidden. Some truths grow better in the open air. Next up, a little boy tells his mom about the man in his room, and she realizes it's her late husband's voice on the baby monitor. Story number 6. The little boy said there's a man in his room. Then she heard her late husband's voice. "The man in my room says goodnight." "Mommy," that's what her 5-year-old whispered one night, eyes wide, voice sleepy but sure. She froze mid-step, heart suddenly racing, because her husband had died 6 months ago. Hannah had been trying to rebuild life piece by piece. Laundry, lunches, daycare drop-offs. She'd mastered the rhythm of pretending everything was fine, even when it wasn't. Her husband, Jake, had been calm to her chaos. A firefighter, gone after a building collapse, the kind of loss that leaves rooms echoing. She still kept his jacket by the door, his tools in the shed, his voice on her phone. 3 old voicemails she couldn't delete. And then her son, Oliver, started talking to someone in his room. At first, she thought it was an imaginary play. Every kid had invisible friends. But one night, she stood outside his door and heard him giggling. A pause. Then he said, "No, Daddy, I don't want a story about the fire truck again." Her stomach dropped. She pushed open the door. "Ollie, sweetheart, who are you talking to?" He pointed to the baby monitor camera on the shelf. Him. The red light blinked softly. She tried to laugh it off. "That's just a camera, honey. It helps Mommy see you when you sleep." But he frowned. "No, he talks from there. His voice is scratchy, but it's Daddy." That night, after tucking him in, Hannah sat in the living room, staring at the monitor screen. The image was normal. Ollie sleeping peacefully, clutching his stuffed dragon. Then, through the faint static, came a sound. A low hum. Then words. "Good night, kiddo." Her breath caught. She froze, hand trembling over the monitor. The voice was faint but familiar. It couldn't be. It couldn't. She replayed the clip again and again, but it didn't repeat. Just white noise now. The next morning, she checked the baby monitor's history. No saved files, no alerts. It wasn't a smart model. No Wi-Fi, no cloud. Just a local radio feed. Her rational brain scrambled for explanations. Interference, neighbors, radio bleed. But it didn't explain the words. When she picked Ollie up from daycare that afternoon, he said, "Daddy told me I'm brave. He said he's proud I feed my fish every day." She hadn't told anyone about the fish. Not even her mom. That night, she set up her phone to record the baby monitor audio. Hours passed, nothing. Just static and soft breathing. Until 2:17 a.m., the monitor crackled. Then faintly, "Tell her I'm okay." The next morning, she played it back 20 times. The voice was distorted, but deep. That same calm tone Jake always had when she panicked over something small. She started crying before she realized it. Later, she showed the clip to her brother, a sound engineer. He listened with his eyes narrowed, rewound, filtered the noise, and looked pale. "Hannah, that's a human voice. No interference pattern. It's like someone recorded it directly into the signal." "But this model doesn't have a mic," she whispered. "I know." For days, she didn't know what to believe. Logic wrestled with longing, science against hope. Then, one night she asked the empty room, "If you're there, say something for me." Nothing. She almost laughed at herself, until Ollie's door creaked open. He was half asleep, holding his dragon. "He said it's okay to be tired, Mommy. He says that's how he knows you're still trying." Tears spilled before she could stop them. She scooped him up, holding him close. "Did Daddy say anything else?" "Yeah," Ollie smiled sleepily. "He said, 'Good night, kiddo.'" The next day, Hannah packed away the monitor. Not because she was scared, but because she didn't need proof anymore. Every now and then, when she tucked Ollie in, she swore she felt a warmth near the door. Like someone standing there. Unseen but present, she'd whisper softly, "Good night, Jake." And somewhere, in the faint hum of the night, she almost heard the reply. Months later, she found an old voicemail she'd somehow missed, time-stamped days before the accident. Jake's voice. "Hey, love. If you're hearing this, I'm probably running late. Tell Ollie I'll read him the fire truck story tomorrow. Good night, kiddo." Her heart broke and healed in the same breath. Sometimes love doesn't end where the heartbeat does. Sometimes it lingers, in static and small voices, reminding us that goodbye isn't the same as gone. If you're still mining or studying right now, maybe that's your sign. Rest. Someone out there would want you to. Next up, a woman's new tenant leaves her rent in cash every week. But the name on the envelope belongs to her brother who vanished 10 years ago. Story number 7. Her tenant left rent, every week. But the name on the envelope was her missing brother's. Every Friday, there was an envelope on the counter. Always the same handwriting, always sealed neatly, always filled with rent money and crisp bills. But the name written on the front wasn't the tenant's. It was her brother's. The brother who vanished 10 years ago. Nora didn't like renting out her guest house, but bills had a way of convincing people to compromise. The small studio out back had its own door, a kitchenette, and a view of the woods. Perfect for privacy, hers and theirs. When the new tenant, Eli, moved in, he seemed ordinary enough. Early 30s, quiet, paid in advance. He told her he worked nights at the hospital and wouldn't bother her much. He didn't. He barely existed. Weeks went by without seeing him. Just the occasional sound of footsteps at 3 a.m., or a car door shutting softly before dawn. But every Friday morning, she'd find that envelope. Rent written across the front. Inside, exact change. Always cash, until one morning she flipped it over and froze. In the corner, scribbled like a note. Thanks, Nora. Sam. Her breath caught. Sam. Her brother. The one who disappeared when she was 19. The one the police said probably just ran away. The one whose last text had said, "Don't look for me." She hadn't seen that name written in years, but she'd recognized that handwriting anywhere. Rounded S. Hooked M. The little dash he always added like a signature flourish. Her hands trembled. She checked the envelope again. The bills inside were newer than usual. No note, no clue. Just that signature, casual, almost teasing. She waited for Eli that evening. He didn't come home. The lights in the guest house stayed off. By morning, the envelope was gone, replaced by a new one on the counter. Same rent amount. But this time, no name. She decided to confront him. When he finally appeared 2 days later, tall, tired eyes, a small smile, she stepped outside. "Hey, Eli," she began, heart pounding. "We need to talk." He blinked. "Everything okay?" She held up the envelope. "Why did you write my brother's name on this?" His face changed. Not confusion, guilt, the kind that flickers too quickly to hide. "I didn't," he said quietly. "I never write anything on the envelopes." "Don't lie to me." "I'm not. I just leave the cash on Fridays, like always." "Then who's putting these here?" He hesitated, glancing toward the woods. "Maybe you should stop checking them in the morning." "What does that mean?" He didn't answer. That night she couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m., she peeked through her kitchen blinds toward the guest house. The porch light was off, but faint movement flickered. A shadow near the counter where the envelopes sat. She crept closer, silent, barefoot. Through the window, she saw someone. Not Eli. Too thin, hair longer, face half hidden under the porch light. He placed something on the counter, turned to leave, and in that flash, when he glanced up, her breath hitched. It was Sam. Older, hollow-eyed, but undeniably him. She yanked the door open. "Sam!" He froze, startled, like a ghost caught mid-step. For a moment, neither spoke. The air between them felt heavy with 10 years of silence. "Nora," he whispered, "you shouldn't be here." "What do you mean?"
You're alive!
"Where have you—" He shook his head. "I can't explain, just, I needed you to know I'm sorry." "For what?" "For leaving. For staying gone." Her voice cracked. "You can't just show up like this and disappear again." He smiled sadly. "That's exactly what I have to do." And before she could reach him, he turned and vanished into the woods. When she told Eli the next morning, he didn't look surprised. "You saw him, didn't you?" "You knew?" she demanded. He nodded. "He's been here before, never for long. He said if I stayed, he'd leave the rent under my name. Said it was important that you thought someone cared enough to help you stay." Nora's voice trembled. "Where did he go?" Eli looked toward the tree line. "Some debts don't want to be found." A week later, no envelope appeared. Then another week. By the third Friday, she'd stopped checking, until she heard the mailbox click. Inside was one small, weathered envelope. Inside, a photo. Her and Sam, aged 12 and 14, sitting on the porch of their childhood home. On the back, in familiar handwriting, "I'm okay. Keep the lights on for me. S." She cried for a long time, the kind of cry that isn't just sadness. It's relief tangled with heartbreak. Sometimes people don't disappear because they stop loving you. Sometimes they vanish because they love you too much to drag you through their storm. And sometimes, a ghost isn't someone dead. It's someone alive who can't come home yet. If you're still mining or studying, take a second to breathe. Maybe there's someone out there keeping your light on too. Next up, a man discovers his late wife's diary. And inside, she's written letters to the woman he's about to marry. Story for 8. He found his late wife's diary, with letters to the woman he was about to marry. He found his late wife's diary 2 weeks before his second wedding. It was tucked in a box of old sweaters, one he almost donated without checking. Inside were letters addressed to someone who didn't exist yet, or so he thought, until he saw the name Anna, the woman he was about to marry. Mark hadn't opened that closet in years. He thought he'd boxed up every reminder after Lily's passing. The photographs, her favorite scarf, even the chipped coffee mug she refused to throw away. But grief has a strange way of waiting for quiet moments to resurface. He was pulling out storage bins when the small leather diary fell onto the floor. He recognized it instantly. Lily's handwriting etched into the cover. "For when I'm gone." At first, he thought it was a journal, but the first page read like a letter. "If you're reading this, you've learned to smile again. I hope it's because someone new has reminded you how. His heart stopped. She'd written dozens of letters, one for every possible version of the future, to his future self, to their son, even one titled, "To the Next Woman Who Loves Him." That one was sealed in an envelope marked Anna. But Mark didn't know Anna when Lily died. That was 4 years ago. He sat down, trembling, and opened it. "Hi, Anna. I don't know your face, but I prayed for your patience." Mark is gentle, but sometimes he mistakes silence for strength. "Don't let him carry everything alone. Tell him the night sky still misses his telescope and that I forgive him for surviving." Mark's eyes blurred. He hadn't touched that telescope since her funeral. The letter continued. "I hope you love each other without guilt. He'll try to hide it, that feeling like he's betraying me. But please remind him that love isn't a limited thing. It grows, it expands, it makes room. I want him to have a home full of laughter again. And Anna, if you ever wonder whether I'd have liked you, I already do." He dropped the paper, overwhelmed by something too big for words. That evening, he sat on the porch until sunset. Anna came home, humming, still in her work uniform, and smiled when she saw him. "You okay?" she asked. "You look like you saw a ghost." He hesitated. "Maybe I did." He told her about the diary, about the letters, about her name written 4 years before they met. Anna's hand went to her mouth. "That's impossible." "I know," he said. "But it's real. She wrote to you." She looked at him carefully, reading the tremor in his voice. "What did she say?" "That she forgives me." Anna exhaled, tears in her eyes. "Then maybe now you can forgive yourself too." That night, they read the rest of the diary together. Lily had written about everything she feared he'd forget. Their road trips, the joke they never finished, the way he'd hum old songs while brushing his teeth. At the end was a page with just one line. "If he's smiling again, my story was worth it." 2 weeks later, on the morning of his wedding to Anna, Mark tucked a small folded note into his suit pocket. It wasn't vows. It wasn't a speech. It was Lily's letter, the one meant for Anna. After the ceremony, when the guests drifted away and music softened, he handed it to his new wife. "I think this belongs to you," he said. She opened it again, smiling through tears. "She really did know me. Maybe she just knew the kind of person I'd fall for," he whispered. Anna touched his hand. "Then you both chose right." That night, before they left for their honeymoon, he set Lily's telescope back on the porch, pointed it toward the same patch of sky they used to watch. He whispered, "She's smiling. Lily, you were right." The stars shimmered back like a silent nod. Sometimes love doesn't end. It just changes its shape. Sometimes it becomes a blessing passed from one heartbeat to another. And maybe, somewhere beyond the stars, someone smiles knowing their love story helped write another one. If you're still mining or studying, take a moment to unclench your jaw, breathe, and remember, love isn't a one-time thing. It's a relay that keeps going. Next up, a woman attends her own funeral and realizes the eulogies are from the people she wronged most. Story number 9. She attended her own funeral and heard the truth from everyone she hurt. She attended her own funeral, not as a ghost, not as a spirit, but as a living woman hiding in the back row. And when the eulogies started, she realized the people she'd wronged most were the only ones who showed up to say goodbye. Marla wasn't supposed to be there. The accident had been staged. At least that's what her lawyer called it. A full disappearance, he'd said. She'd taken the deal. The name change. The chance to vanish clean from a life that had swallowed her whole. Corporate whistleblower. That's what the papers called her. But to the people she exposed, she was a traitor. So when the FBI staged her fatal car crash, she didn't argue. She watched her old life die in the news, along with her reputation, her friends, and the man she'd loved. But after 3 years of hiding, curiosity outweighed fear. She found an obituary online, her own. A small service, a dozen names she recognized. So she came back, hood up, dark glasses, silent, just to see who cared enough to say goodbye. The church was small, old, smelling faintly of lilies and dust. About 15 people filled the pews. She recognized her sister first. Pale, thin, gripping tissues. Then Daniel, her former boss, the one she'd exposed for embezzlement. And next to him, her ex-fiancé, Luke. She slipped into the back pew. No one noticed. The pastor spoke briefly, quoting words she used to roll her eyes at. "The truth will set you free." Then he invited anyone who wished to speak. To her shock, Daniel stood first. He looked older, heavier. "Marla ruined me," he began flatly. Gasps rippled. But she was right. The room went still. He swallowed hard. She caught what none of us wanted to admit. We were cooking numbers, playing games with people's lives. I hated her for exposing it, but she saved a lot of people I never apologized to. Maybe this is how I do it. He stepped back down, trembling. Marla's heart twisted. She hadn't expected that. She'd expected anger, denial, not remorse. Then her sister Jen took the podium. Her voice shook. When they said she died, I didn't believe it. I thought she was hiding, but I was angry. I thought she'd chosen her job over her family. Tears slid down her face. Now, standing here, I think she chose to do the right thing, even when it cost her everything. I wish I told her that once. Marla's throat burned. She gripped the pew until her knuckles ached. Last came Luke. He stood quietly for a moment before speaking. We were supposed to get married 6 months after she disappeared. I was angry, sure, but mostly I was broken that she didn't trust me enough to say goodbye. He exhaled. But maybe she did the only thing she could to keep me safe. I think about that every time I drive home and see headlights in the rear view. So if you can hear me, Marla, I forgive you. Her vision blurred. She had to look away. When the service ended, people drifted out in silence. Marla stayed hidden until the last footsteps faded. Then she walked slowly to the front, fingers tracing the edges of the empty coffin. A small envelope lay on the flowers. Her sister's handwriting. If you're still alive, and somehow I believe you are, come home. You don't owe anyone a ghost story. Marla laughed softly through her tears. That old sisterly intuition. Jen always knew when she was lying. Outside, the air was heavy with rain. She stood under the awning, looking at the gray sky. For 3 years, she'd lived in fear of being found. Now, for the first time, she wanted to be. She didn't go to the safe house that night. She went to her sister's apartment. Knocked once. The door opened before she could speak. Jen just looked at her, eyes wide, then pulled her into a hug so fierce it erased every plan to run. You look terrible, Jen whispered through tears. You should see the coffin. Marla joked weakly. They both laughed, the kind of broken laughter that only happens when grief collides with relief. 2 weeks later, Marla turned herself in. Not to confess, but to close the loop. To face what was left of the mess she'd exposed. The government offered her witness protection again. She declined. I've already lived as a ghost, she said. I'd rather live as me, even if it's messy. Sometimes people need to hear their own eulogy to remember who they were before fear took over. Sometimes the people you think hate you are just waiting for a chance to forgive you, and sometimes death isn't the end of your story. It's the moment you start living it honestly. If you're still mining or studying right now, take that as a quiet reminder. Second chances aren't rare. They just look like endings at first. Next up, a soldier returns home from deployment and meets a little girl who looks exactly like the fiancé he buried. Story number 10. Waufe, he came home from deployment and met a little girl who looked exactly like his late fiancé. He'd been home less than an hour when he saw her. A little girl with the same ocean gray eyes as his fiancé. The same dimples, the same gentle way of tucking her hair behind her ear. The only difference was, his fiancé had been gone for 5 years, and this child couldn't have been older than 4. Sergeant Daniel Hayes didn't believe in ghosts. At least not the kind that breathed. He'd left one life behind when the IED hit his convoy. The explosion took his hearing in one ear, a friend beside him, and the woman he'd promised to marry, Rebecca Langford. She'd been volunteering overseas, a field nurse stationed 2 towns away. Her transport was ambushed the same week. They never found her body. So when Daniel came back home years later, patched, quiet, surviving, he didn't expect anything except loneliness. The town hadn't changed much. Same diner, same church, same White House at the end of Willow Creek Road. Rebecca's old house. Her mother still lived there. He hadn't planned to stop. But fate doesn't always ask. He parked nearby, just watching from the sidewalk. That's when the front door opened. A little girl ran out chasing a red ball, curls bouncing, laughter carrying through the evening air. Daniel froze. Those eyes, that exact gray blue, that tilt of her smile. It was like watching a memory walk out of time. The ball rolled to his boot. The girl stopped a few feet away. Sorry, mister, she said shyly. He bent down, handing it back. You're okay, kiddo. Then she giggled. You sound like my mommy said you would. He blinked. What's that? She said if I ever meet a soldier who looks sad, I should tell him she's proud of him. Daniel's throat tightened. Your mommy? Yeah, she's at the clinic. She fixes people. He glanced toward the house. Rebecca's mother stood on the porch, hand over her mouth, tears streaming. Later that night, they sat inside over tea. Her name's Lily, Rebecca's mother whispered. Rebecca named her after your grandmother. Daniel couldn't breathe. How is that possible? Her voice trembled. Rebecca survived the ambush. She was taken in by locals. We got word months later, but she refused to come home until the clinic was rebuilt. Then she found out she was pregnant. She wrote letters. Never sent them. Said she didn't want to ruin your healing. He swallowed hard. She thought she'd ruin me? She thought she'd save you. The next morning, he stood outside the small free clinic near Town Square. The sign read Langford Community Health. Through the window he saw her, Rebecca. Hair shorter, eyes older, but undeniably her. She turned, caught sight of him, and for a heartbeat, neither moved. Then she walked out slowly, sunlight on her face, trembling like a dream afraid to wake. "Daniel," she whispered. He took a step closer. "You're alive. I wanted to tell you," she said. "But after the recovery, I wasn't the same. I thought, maybe you need to move on." "I did," he said, voice cracking. "I tried, but every time I closed my eyes, you were still there." She smiled faintly. "Then maybe this isn't a second chance? Maybe it's just the rest of our first one." He laughed through tears. "You named her Lily," Rebecca nodded. "I wanted her to carry something good from the life we never got to finish." He crouched down as the little girl peeked from behind her mother. "Hey, Lily." "Hi, soldier man." She grinned. "Mommy said you're brave." He smiled softly. "She's the brave one." Lily tilted her head. "You look like the picture Mommy keeps by her bed." Rebecca blushed. "She found it. Wouldn't let me throw it away." "Good," Daniel said. "I wouldn't have forgiven you." Over the next few months, Daniel visited often, fixed the clinic roof, taught Lily how to throw a baseball, and slowly, the ache that had lived in his chest since the desert began to quiet. One night, Rebecca joined him on the porch as Lily slept inside. "Have you ever thought about going back?" she asked. He shook his head. "No. I've seen enough war for a lifetime." She leaned her head against his shoulder. "Me too." The crickets filled the silence that followed. Soft, steady, alive. The next morning, Lily handed him a crayon drawing. 3 stick figures, holding hands under a yellow sun. At the top, she'd written, "Mommy plus Daddy plus me." Daniel felt something shift in his chest. Not pain this time, but peace. He looked at Rebecca, who smiled through her tears. "I guess she's already decided," he said. Rebecca laughed. "Kids don't wait for permission to hope." Months later, they held a quiet ceremony under the willow tree behind the house. No uniforms, no fanfare, just family, old friends, and a child dropping flower petals with too much enthusiasm. When the vows were done, Lily tugged on Daniel's sleeve. "Can I say it now?" He knelt. "Say what?" She whispered. "Good night, Daddy." And for the first time in 5 years, Daniel didn't flinch when the tears came. Sometimes, love doesn't end with goodbye. It just waits for the right time to start again. Sometimes the people you thought you lost are just waiting for you.